Hello and welcome to Debate 411. Before we move on, I would like to pass on a personal message. And of course, it is important when you're a lady out there and you are called upon by your fellow ladies or members of the community and you're urged to give your opinion on certain issues, it is important to take part in those conversations. They have shown trust in you. They have shown that you can be able to represent them in those issues. And of course, in line with supporting gender equality and ensuring that women too play a key role in sharing their views on national issues or issues that affect them, I do support the He for She initiative. All you need to do to join the initiative is go to www.heforshe.org. And of course, this is Debate 411. My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. Today we're talking about an issue that concerns cash, ama faranga. And of course, it has to do with entrepreneurs and access to credit or finance. And the question we're asking ourselves is, are banks in business? Because if they're not lending, then what business are they into? And these are the tough questions we'll be asking ourselves in the program today. My panelist here is none other than Ephraim Rwamwenje. Welcome to Debate 411.
Thank you.
We understand that you have a company called Rwabi's Group that imports sugar and exports coffee.
Yes, amongst other things.
Thank you so much for being on Debate 411. We have Christine Babazi Delaney, who is a fashionista, and of course, she runs the Christine's Creative Collection.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being on Debate 411.
You're welcome. Thanks
You're
for
wearing
hosting me.
Christine's collection?
And so are you.
And so am I.
Yes.
Thank you so much for dressing me.
Yeah.
And we have Bwana Sam, who is an expert on financial services and credit. Thank you for joining us on Debate 411.
Thank you.
The key issue that we have here today, and of course the main perception that most entrepreneurs have today, if you go out there, is that banks don't want to lend, or financial institutions just don't want to give us money. And I'd like to start with Sam, because your expertise in lending and financial issues can come in handy here in answering this question. Does this represent the true facts on the ground? Is that a true statement?
This statement might be too subjective, and I totally disagree with the statement, because how can the bank be there without lending, as in they don't want to lend, banks? And if you look at most of the banks, actually all banks, they make money through lending. A big part of the income, if you go through all the reports for different banks, you find a big part of the income in the P&L comes from loans. So I'm wondering how people say banks don't want to lend, and they make money through lending. If we don't want to lend, it means we don't want to make money.
And you don't want to be in business.
Yes.
Do you agree with that statement, Ephraim, before I bring in Christine? Do you feel that that statement, is a valid statement by most entrepreneurs who feel that banks or financial institutions just don't want us to get credit from them?
It's not about them not wanting to. I think it's a more of an internal issue in terms of them as a bank, or them as banks. The systems that they have in place to assess the credibility of these businesses or the creditworthiness of these businesses denies them the opportunity to actually give loans to entrepreneurs who would actually give them a good return on their investment. So I think from a business side, when I look at it, the banks need to innovate how they assess businesses. And I think that's where it is. It's not a matter of them not wanting to. I think they just, right now, that structure and that systems deny them the opportunity to invest.
And these structures are made by those banks or those financial institutions.
Yes.
Christine, your personal opinion on this issue?
Well, I think the statement you just stated is correct. With what Mr. Sam is telling us, we don't think, we entrepreneurs or SMEs don't think that banks don't want to lend us. But at the end of everything that has happened, at the end of all the procedures that we've gone through, at the end of representing our businesses and waiting for the finances, that's the statement that comes out. They don't want to lend us. But in reality, it's not that they don't want to lend us, but rather it's like they're really not buying our ideas and they're not seeing money out of us. Yeah, that's
You're
it.
not buying into the ideas, you're not seeing any business out of them.
Ephraim talked about the systems, and Christine is talking about the procedures. And if you look at different entrepreneurs, they like going shortcut, getting money in a shortcut way. But banks will always have their way of lending and have also the procedures they follow. And if they are to deviate on the procedure, this culminates into the non-performing
So there can
facilities.
never be an easy way or a corridor for entrepreneurs to reduce on that time. This is not possible.
It is possible, but we cannot avoid mitigating risks. Because if we do not mitigate risks, this might cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, we understand.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
If somebody has collateral, are you going to give them a loan?
That is the bad thing out there. Every entrepreneur will come to the bank and is like, I have a big house as a collateral. How much are you going to give me? And it's not all about the collateral.
So it's never always about the collateral.
Banks are not in the business of selling houses or selling
now,
land for the
Mr.
people.
Sam.
Let him finish, yes.
Yeah. So if someone comes as in, I have a collateral, how much are you giving me? The issue of financial literacy now comes in. You find the financial advisory services out there, it's not well done. So people, I think BDF came in as a solution to this, but it's not yet fully implemented out there to the business guys, the SMEs guys, and those people who are in agricultural businesses. They have not yet sensitized on how to get the financial support from banks.
But before we go deeper into the BDF and how probably the information on financial literacy has not taken root, but I would love to understand where Ephraim wanted to go with that question.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to find out from a perspective of, because you talked of collateral not being the silver lining when it comes to getting a loan.
Yeah.
And you talk of entrepreneurs wanting to take shortcuts. But I want to ask, don't you think it's actually just a matter of opinion? Because you know, and guys will come to you with, and they would have filled all the requirements that you needed. They'll give you the 20 documents, they'll give you the RDB certificates, the tax clearance certificates, the RSSB, all these documents that you need. They'll give you financial statements that show that they're not a bad company. But what happens is, and they have collateral, what happens is, it's a matter of the bank people sitting down and assessing this and saying, can this person pay us back? That statement in itself means that it's beyond procedures, it's beyond requirements. It now just comes down to the bank's opinion on whether this person can actually pay this loan. So my question to you is, do you honestly think that right now banks have the right perspective in order to make a very good, have a very good opinion in regards to these businesses and their creditworthiness?
Or in other words, do we usually get to a point where it becomes a call of one person in that institution, where this entrepreneur has gone through and given out all the deliverables requested or asked for by the bank, but then it gets to this individual who just decides out of his own personal call? This, I think, is the question here. Do we get to that particular point in banks?
You see what happens? Entrepreneurs, they don't want to hear about the risk when it comes on the bank. And this animal called risk will always be there between the entrepreneurs and banks. And there is no room to deviate when it comes on mitigating risks, as I said before. And what the entrepreneurs now need to do is to build a good relationship with banks, because credit worthiness, it's all about how you deal with the bank. You as an entrepreneur, you as a customer. So you need to create that loan, because banks look at different things when the bank is going to lend to someone. As I said, you might bring A, B, C, D to Z. And then finally, you're not given
The loan.
the money. But the risk will be mitigated until when the loan is disbursed, and even after disbursement.
And this relationship, for some people, would not probably understand what it really means. This relationship, like you say, institutions or entrepreneurs or individuals need to build good relationships with banks. Does that mean that personal friendship and, a way that they have, in Shutianje, the way that I have trust in you, I know this guy is my friend, is that the relationship?
That's not a relationship. I'm talking of banking relationship. If you are given like a facility,
yes,
make sure you service that facility very well.
But we
don't
borrow.
Let's bring in Chris.
Don't merit borrow.
Yes.
If someone starts borrowing in different banks and you find the credit history is bad, then this borrower or the entrepreneur
gets into bad relations with the banks. Yes. Before you go on, and Christina, as you answered that particular issue of building the good relations with banks, he mentioned that entrepreneurs just love shortcuts, and we are not patient.
That is the issue.
Yes, that we are not patient as entrepreneurs when we are told the process is still ongoing.
Yes.
Come back tomorrow. The process is still ongoing. Come back tomorrow. What's your view on that as you answer that particular statement?
Now, one thing I do not understand is what takes long for something to be done. With all the technology that we have, with all the applications created every day and night, what really takes a month in a bank? Is it someone is on leave? Is it just a decision? Like really, when it's a long-term thing, that's how the impatience comes in. So I really never ever will understand that long process that it goes through. Come back tomorrow. Come back next week. We're still waiting for so and so. The manager is not around. Hey, all those things. We are human, so it really keeps us very impatient. And then talking about loving the shortcuts, I think personally, or in a business perspective, or like an entrepreneur, you're going to ask me for those 20 documents he was talking about, let's say, and then you're going to ask me, okay, I have that house, maybe that's what I've brought to you, but still I'm showing you how I want that money, and I'm showing you how I'm going to make money out of it. But still, you don't have trust in me as someone who hasn't built up something in my business. I haven't even gotten enough money to make those transactions and build the relationship with the banks. You get a good relationship with the banks. I just want to start up. I've come up with an idea which I think is going to help me and going to employ people around me, and we're going to make money, and hence you are going to make a profit. But still, that trust for the banks and then for the agents loaning money to SMEs or to business people, it's not there. It's really not there.
So probably what she means is when you say it, build a good relationship with the banks, and some things might work out well for you. But she's talking of these new ones, the new entrants, the ones who have never even gone to borrow. They don't have a track record, they don't have a history. So how does that judgment apply to them?
The only problem these guys want to start big. They don't want to start as in, let us start small, and then I will grow big. And those are the same guys who will come as in, I have a big collateral. And if I give you a house worth 100 million, why don't you give me 50 million and then I start business? These people, the startup guys, they will sleep and wake up in the morning and are like, I want to put an industry, cloth-making industry, and it requires 50 million. My parent left me with a house worth 200 million. I'm very sure I'll get this money without complications. They call it complications. Our processes, they call it complications and bureaucracy,
Can I intervene a bit on that?
You can intervene.
Yes.
Okay. So you were talking about we want to start big instead of starting from... Seriously, out of experience, out of very many entrepreneurs, he can be a witness. Why would you start big when you know you have nothing at the account?
That's the problem.
I think that's an imaginal thing you have there internally. We are requesting for 1 million or 2 million because you think I have to start from making bibs of 200 francs. But hey, remember, I need to pay that rent. I need to do all those small things depending on my budget that I have.
So that big for you that he talks about might not
I'm
be...
not agreeing on it. I don't
You were once a startup. No. Exactly. Do you think that represents the true picture of startup businesses?
No. That is, there are very few people who have a house worth 100 million. Even some people who work for years, they don't have a house worth 100 million. Even something that their parents.
It was just an example.
It was okay. Yes.
Yeah.
He might even come saying my house is worth 10 million. Yeah, and I need 7 million. You guys, if I don't pay, you just
take the house.
Take it.
And you know, if such a person is telling you that, then it means financial literacy is a problem out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
you don't just chase away.
Yes, yes.
But I feel that we are missing. I feel we're missing the point, because I know of, and I'm talking as a young person. I know young people who want to build businesses. It's not about making money. It's not about getting money. They want to build businesses, but they don't have what we call seed capital to start. And they can't raise that money from friends and family like most people do in other countries. They come to the bank and say, look, I have this idea. This is my business plan. I have a personal account. I worked for a couple of years. Can you give me a small advance as a business so that I can start my business? 2 million, 1 million.
Yes.
It's not big. And it's ICT, because ICT, all you're doing is paying for hosting services, hiring 1 or 2 people, renting a place like she said.
And it will still be hard for this person to get credit.
And it'll still be hard for that person to get credit.
Yes.
So, Sam, how would you explain that and still stand on your opposing ground that banks really, it's not just that they don't want to give money, or financial institutions, it's not just that they don't want to fund them. With that particular example, how would you still defend that position?
Just let us take an example on those guys fresh from college. And they really have business ideas, and they go to banks looking for the startup facilities. It doesn't mean the banks cannot assist them. And that's when that's why this BDF came in, to assist the startup guys. But BDF also needs genuine projects that maybe will have a social economic impact on the community, not only you as an individual, because there are some businesses which they can't guarantee. Then people, they are doing a lot of manipulations when it comes on the business plans. Guys with good ideas, guys with productive projects are ready to be assisted with collaboration, with BDF. But those with manipulations in the business plans, they can't be assisted, and this happens. I understand there are those who have good ideas, good projects, and these guys have been, I think, assisted. Those who complain, they don't have genuine projects.
So this is the general perspective.
Oh my God.
And Christine, you're calling your God right here, about now.
Yeah.
What makes you say that? Because he feels that most of people who complain is a result of the fact that they fail to get the credit.
Generalizing.
Yes, we're sort of generalizing the issue. And you've called your God here, so tell us why.
Oh, first of all, Mr. Sam, you're going to answer me, but then I'll have also to explain more, to talk more, to oppose more about what you say. Why do you exactly call a good business idea?
A good business idea.
If you explain that to me, then I'll tell you out of experience.
You know, these guys come up with projects, the business plan and all that. And if you present your business plan in the bank or through BDF, then banks will also go through the project you are venturing. If we do the market analysis of such a project or the business you want to venture, and we find there is a lot of risks, then we advise that you should not go for this. Entrepreneurs always have like huge expectations out of their projects.
So in answering her question, you're saying a good business plan should not have huge expectations.
It should be realistic.
It should be realistic. I'm saying don't overestimate and be realistic. Do things which can be
achieved.
Yeah.
And achievable.
Yeah.
Can that make you continue on with your...
And entrepreneurs think overestimating their projects, they guarantee. They're like, if I do a business plan of, let's say, 50 million, they give me 20 million. Those perceptions, you know, it also makes banks reject some facilities to for the entrepreneurs.
Now, Mr. Sam, let's say I brought you my business idea, and you found out it's a good idea, but I'm over expecting a lot of money, let's say. Do you sit me down as you finance organizations or as a finance team? Do you sit me down and say, Christine, this is a good business idea. If you do it this way, we think these risks are going to be taken away, or we think you're going to make money in this way. Like, or I come back with all those days I've been running after you saying, what's happening, come back tomorrow, approval, or bring back this, something has expired in that process. I go get it. So do you sit me down and tell me, Christine, this is how you have to run your business?
Do you think they usually do that?
That's what I'm asking him. Do they do that? Yeah.
Because
I know they don't. I know they don't, but they might be doing it.
From that
maybe
perspective,
to some people.
I can't generalize
Yes.
by saying they don't do that. Maybe some does, others don't do. But there are some banks which do. So we can't generalize by saying they don't do. But if your project is rejected, I'm sure there is reasons behind that for the decline of the project.
And it's important for this entrepreneur to know those
reasons.
Those reasons.
Can I just say something? Because we said let's not overgeneralize. I've been an entrepreneur who has gotten money, who went to the bank, was rejected. I've gone back. I've been rejected. I've gone back and I've gotten money. And I've also gotten money from private investors as well. And one thing that, coming back, I was given a reason one time, and I'm not going to mention the bank. But
you're saying you're going back, it's rejected, going back, it's rejected?
I mean, you go at different stages of your business, because you go the first time, they say, oh yeah? No.
You're still young.
So yes, exactly. We can't give you, we can't. Now, I was saying, the reason they gave me was, one of the reasons was, this is an actual reason. We don't think you'll be able to pay the loan back. And I asked why. They said, we just saw no valid, nothing valid, and this is from experience, and we're not generalizing.
The perception of entrepreneurs on banks are like, if you go there to ask for money, you find bankers will tell you don't have enough collateral, you don't have capacity to pay. Those are the reasons you find entrepreneurs complain about. You don't have genuine business. All in all, there is no repayment ability. But this issue, that's why I said we should not generalize. You might face someone.
Although these things are happening out there.
Yeah,
it happens.
Much as we wouldn't want to generalize, but I'm sure there are cases out there that are happening like this.
There are many cases.
So in other words, as you continue answering, Sam, what you're trying to ask here is, do banks or financial institutions owe the entrepreneurs that explanation? Any time that a request for financing is declined, do the banks owe them an explanation, or we've decided it's final and so decide?
We're not telling you anything.
That's why I said if the project or if the facilities is declined, there is always reasons for a decline. And these reasons should be communicated to the borrower, to the entrepreneur. They sit, then they look at the reasons. The finance even goes extra mile by advising that you need to do A, B, C, D for you to be assisted in this particular.
If you don't mind, if I can come in, it's because I think for me one of the biggest issues is not.
Do we agree there is no facility that can be denied without reasons?
Yeah, no, that's the truth. There's a reason. But
you are
the communication issue is the
you are
problem.
able to to overcome those issues of concern that made your request to be declined.
Let me say
future you are in a better
Mr. Sam,
position.
that's why at first I asked you, do you guys sit us down and and advise us on how to go about it so that it can be accepted, like his case.
Now the
he
issue
didn't
is,
get any explanation.
it sounds very theoretical.
Yeah.
This is my issue. In theory, that's what should be done. But in reality, is that what's done? Because I'm talking from experience. I've never been sat down and given advice about how I should improve my application. It has always been filling and checking out what the banks want, trying to understand what the banks need. And I'm not trying to vilify banks, because I love banks. I mean, you cannot grow your business without debts and financing, external financing. But then the issue is, have banks taken a template and said, this is how we're going to assess businesses? And each bank, I'm sure it has its own way, but have they taken a template which they copied maybe from another country or another group or a bank that they benchmark from, and they didn't really take into account the local context of the businesses? That's my issue, because we have said it. We are your customers. We are not seeking, we are not Red Cross, and you said this earlier before off camera. You're not Red Cross as the banks, so we are not coming for donations. We are coming to give you business. Now, you as banks, you have to understand, you need to pay attention to customer feedback. You need to innovate, and I know you may say we are complaining, but I think amongst these complaints, even when customers complain to me about my sugar, it's a complaint, yes. And sometimes it's unwarranted, yes. But there's something that I can learn from there to improve my systems. And I feel banks have reached a point where they have said, these complaints are just complaints and we're going to ignore them. And I feel that it's like the banks want to stay in one place and get the entrepreneurs to fly all the way to them and not meet them halfway. What I think, you have talked of the theory of it, but when it comes to the practicality of these systems and how the banks operate, I think it leaves a lot to be desired. I feel that that's the issue we're not talking about. Are banks actually being innovative as businesses so that they can actually give loans to the entrepreneurs who can actually pay, regardless of whether they meet the fulfillments? Are they taking the time to develop their own systems to say, how can we spot entrepreneurs? How can we nurture these entrepreneurs to this point where they get this money?
And you feel this is not happening? And
I think it's not happening. Who can we partner with? Are banks asking those questions? Because, for example, we have a subsidiary that does business development services as well as venture capital. And banks have never come to us to say, can you help us assess businesses? We can do that freely. We can assess entrepreneurs. We can be a buffer. But that never happens because banks, I feel that they have this template of how things should be. The customer walks into our store. They give us 20 documents. Yes. They give us the collateral. We sit down. We assess risk. We assess the compliance with policy, and we look at all these things and we're like, okay, can it work? It doesn't work. That's bank's perception. And I'm saying, you have to be a bit more aggressive in this world. I mean, that's why mobile banking came into play. You have to find the customer where they are. We are going to get tired. And as you can see on the continent, a lot of venture capital, alternative means of funding, coming back to the access to finance, are coming in. And if banks continue with this, you need to come to us, and we have this template.
You will walk away.
I mean, business. Why should I go if I can get the money from somebody who is less complicated with it? Who wants to build this relationship? Who is not waiting for me to take the initiative?
Ephraim, is that a threat?
No, it is.
It is a threat.
I can say it on TV.
To the bank.
If you guys don't shape up.
We're coming back. If you don't shape up,
you talked about the donations.
We'll come back and talk of the donations.
We are not beggars.
You are not.
Banks are the beggars. Banks should beg you guys.
You're doing business.
And the question should be when we come back, are the banks begging the entrepreneurs or the people out there?
Banks should beg.
And are they begging?
But they're not.
If you don't even do so, they're supposed to beg.
They're supposed to.
Banks make money from you guys.
Yes, we take a very short break, gentlemen and lady. And when we come back, we move the conversation even forward. Look at the way forward now, because yes, with the threats coming in, with the likes of Ephraim and the like-minded people, where do banks, where will they be left at? And the issue of they need to be more innovative as business also get more innovative. Where do we see our banks in that particular light when we come back after the break? Do stay with us. We are right here, and of course it is called Debate 4-on-1. Keep talking. Talk to us. Do you believe that banks or financing institutions have just decided to take a back seat and said, we are not going to finance these entrepreneurs? Or do you have valid reasons as to why you feel entrepreneurs, or most of them, really deserve that? They're not supposed to be funded based on several reasons that you have yourself. Share those reasons. Talk to us. Use the hashtag Debate411. Tweet me directly at Eugene Nangwe. And when we come back, we'll definitely move the conversation forward. Stay with us. Don't go too far.
Yes, we are ready. 10 seconds to go. All right. That's the wide, eh? No.
But if you look at African nations, including Rwanda, almost 50% comes from donors. So how can these countries that are beggars, most of these countries are beggars, you know? So how can a beggar fund another beggar?
All right. There is
no. So you want him to apologize to you?
Doesn't
no, to the
industry.
To the industry.
Don't misquote me. You are not the entire. You
but
are a journalist.
If he so wishes, he can apologize to me as well.
No. You are not an entire.
Can I go on?
Because he might misquote me.
This is not the point.
You are not
Listen.
an entire.
Let me. Article 101 has two clauses. The first clause says that the term of office is 7 years, renewable once. The second clause says, under no circumstances. You mark that word, under no circumstances. So that word makes this article intangible.
Now, constitutions should reflect the will of the people for whom they are made. The Green Party is putting itself in a very interesting position, where it doesn't only oppose the other political parties, but it is also opposing a very large number of Rwandans who are saying, this is what we want.
Give the Rwandan government time. But we shouldn't say, okay, they're supposed to do everything and we youth are sitting back and wait for them to set just the right environment. No.
But
is this what you said? You're here. And the New Times you say it's not a Bible, so you're here to respond.
Let her retract this
Yes.
statement
I
made in the newspaper.
I don't retract. Sincerely speaking, listen to me, you people. You don't fear me at all. On my age and my what, I can't really be intimidated by you.
I still have the right to blame anyone or to judge anyone. Because, as I said, yes, I'm a student, but then an entrepreneur because I own a business that employs 3 people.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the tweets and for the feedback. Debate 411, that's the hashtag to keep using. Let's keep this conversation going. We'll see you again next time. Goodbye for now. My name is Eugene Anangwe.
Actually, most of the
And
days
welcome
complain.
back. Yes, the conversation was going on even when we are on the break, getting a bit heated right here. And of course, it is Debate 411. My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. We're talking about the issue of entrepreneurs and access to finance. Have our institutions of finance, just decided to refuse to lend entrepreneurs? And that's the particular issue that we're looking at right here. We have Mr. Sam, we have Ephraim, and we have Christine. And when we went for the break, or when we were taking the break, we were talking of the issue of you were challenging the banks and saying, if you do not shape up, if you do not, find ways of approaching us, then rest assured that you could be running out of business very soon, and you are not apologetic for that.
Yeah.
And I would like us to hear from Sam on that particular threat or that particular issue. He says that really banks need to become more innovative. We have other alternative sources of finance that are coming up. People are now using, mobile money and all that, and looking for other ways of, funding which are not banks. Do you feel that banks are now at risk? If status quo is maintained, do you see banks running out of business eventually?
Yes, I agree with you. Technology is moving very fast out there, and the issue of creativity and innovation should be on top of the game in banks. But even the competition now is stiff. So entrepreneurs, as I said earlier, they want quick money and using shortcut. But what I agree with you guys, the issue of innovation should be improved on when it comes on banks, especially in lending. because maybe the process might be tight for the entrepreneurs to access finance, but we also need the other to mitigate the other animal of risk. Yeah. So I agree with Ephraim. Innovation,
and more innovation. Christine, before you answer that, I would like you to also add in your answer to this question. What other points or what other things or indicators show you that indeed financing institutions like banks just don't want to lend to entrepreneurs like you?
There are a couple of reasons. The fact that I am a business lady and I haven't approached any bank for any loan because of what I hear or what I experience. If I talk to him, if I knew him and then I talk to him, he wouldn't advise me to approach any bank, or he wouldn't advise me to approach a specific bank where he was. Now, that would be the first reason. Now, the second reason would be the fact that sometimes they ask more than your ability. They ask you for all the documents that you haven't even had. You just want to start, but they want to see you in the process of the business. Like I said before, banks like working with people who have names, if that's what I can call it to make it clear. They don't want to work with Christine, who doesn't have anything. She hasn't done no business, and she hasn't paid any tax or anything. You know, I need capital to start. I don't need... Sometimes maybe I'll like... He reached a point, he wants money to keep on operating his business. But I need money to start up my business. I'm not going to get that because nothing, there is no trust. Nothing shows that I'll be able to pay it, regardless of how big or how valuable my ideas, my business ideas are. And then another thing I'm thinking of is personal interests. I have a feeling that banks at some point sit down and they have a statistics of saying, oh, today we've denied, no, this month we've denied 20 people. Wow, that's good. Let's keep on doing it. That's what we think as young entrepreneurs, especially as girls, you know. So I think if it happens, I don't know, I haven't approached anyone, but outside of the banks, I don't know you guys, if you go out to approach those people that you denied to see if what they talk about you.
I want to advise Christine.
Mm.
You know, she mentioned of
First
she
of all,
has never approached.
Is it true that there's usually a party thrown to celebrate
the number of people you've denied?
No. That one is not true. I think that one is not true.
No, Mr. Sam, I'm putting it in a way of you deny very many people loans to the people you give loans.
The ratio.
The ratio. That's the context I was talking about.
That one is not true, saying that there is a party of celebrating that we denied 20 people loans. But that one is not true at all. I totally disagree with that. As we said earlier, banks make money from loans. So how can you celebrate that you denied income, the bank? So that one cannot happen.
And would it be true to think along the same line that banks make money out of those loans, and so we would look for key institutions or key people with
big
financial
Christine talked about
for us to
banks,
still stay in business.
That banks want those big people.
Yes.
The corporates.
Said the name.
And they don't want to look at these small
Christine's creative collections that is started.
But as I said earlier, there are banks which focus on the corporates, and there are other banks which have that financial inclusiveness, And what I can advise Christine, look for those financials, those who are inclusive. Yeah, I'm very sure they will assist you, Christine. Not all banks focus on corporates. Because if you look at
just a second,
go through different reports, you'll find big amount of money has been spent to SMEs. So that gives you the image of.
Ephraim has a burning issue out there.
Yes, I was patient.
Yes,
you were.
For me, I want to go
Ephraim
on the
is
flip side.
complaining of the
No, actually, interestingly enough, I'm actually coming to the aid of the banks now because.
Do you still feel he's complaining?
No, I'm not. I'm going. I will.
But he has reasons to complain because nothing he requested for was given to him. So he has reasons to complain.
At the end of the day, I eventually got a loan from the banks, and it helped. And
Okay.
But I had to do so much, and this is where I want to talk about
At least you
it.
can give testimony.
Yeah, exactly. I want to give both sides because at the end of the day, I'm here as an advocate, so I have to speak for both sides. But now, when it comes to a point he mentioned off camera earlier, that the banks are managing other people's money. Imagine your money goes into the bank and you are the business. Forget the fact that you're looking for the money. And would you give your money to somebody like you? And that puts a lot into perspective as a business person. Then on the flip side, when it comes to the initial seed capital to start your business, I know it's rough. It's really hard to get that initial capital. But in that process, and I'm talking from experience, in that process of hustling to get that initial capital, I'm telling you, you develop certain entrepreneurial skills that you cannot learn at any business school. And you need that. So I think instead of us sitting and complaining, because it gets very easy, it's good to talk. And this is initially why I started at that point was because I wanted to say, look, at the end of the day, banks, you guys need to wake up a little bit because you guys are sleeping. But on the flip side, as entrepreneurs, we also need to stop being lazy.
Yeah.
You know, we need to get a bit more aggressive. And you may disagree with that statement.
No, I'm not disagreeing with it.
Talking.
Mr. Sam, I'm agreeing with him. The fact that some banks are international, like they come from other countries to Rwanda, apart from a few that are established in Rwanda. But most of the coming, or the banks that are coming, they're from other countries. So those countries have ways of working. And you find when they bring the whole procedure, like he was saying, to us, Rwandans, and then at the end of the day, how are you going to benefit? You're not going to benefit anything as a person who needs that loan because the processes used are the same processes you're going to find in Kenya.
What would be the ideal way of dealing with it then?
I'm thinking there has to be a general way. Like all banks, however much your competitors, however much you guys have different procedures. But I think there has to be a certain, at least 5 out of the 20, that if someone met in the process if you met those conditions, at least half of the capital, or half of the money you're requesting for the loan should be given. At least if the idea sold.
Yes.
Yeah.
That one is a bit challenging.
How?
Because she talked about some banks are coming from other countries and they bring their procedures, the way how they have been lending from their respective countries, and they apply the same in Rwanda. And this is not true because we are under the guidelines, the rules of BNR, the Central Bank of Rwanda. So there is no room for you, as in for these banks who are coming from other countries, to impose their procedures which are not related to BNR rules and regulations.
Yes. Continue.
And I wanted to advise Christine. There is a point she mentioned before of that she was like, I did not join a bank asking for money because I had my colleagues, my business partners complaining, you know.
And so the attitude is based on what I've heard from others' experience.
Don't hear those propagandas from your fellow entrepreneurs. These are the same people who did not qualify for money because of ABC. Maybe because he had a bad credit history. Maybe the project was not well done. Maybe he deviated the funds. Maybe, you know, there are many circumstances.
And so he's not telling you the truth of the matter.
Now, Mr. Sam, thanks for the advice. Now, keeping on talking about the
those
procedures.
people mess your business.
Yeah, it's fine. It's
Don't
fine.
hear those
Maybe
business.
sometime if I need
Go
finances, I'll come to you directly now that I have met you.
Yeah.
Now, talking about having BNR as the central bank that governs all the banks around, why did you then tell us that in some banks it's easy for SMEs to get loans, and then in some banks they like working more with corporate businesses? I think in that way it should be a general thing. Like if I move to bank so and so, they can help me because I'm an SME, and they can help me. They can help you because he's a corporate business. He's been operating for so long.
Can I help you, sir?
You can answer.
Yes. No, I think the reason why the central bank cannot come in and set a general guideline for all the banks, commercial banks, is because at the end of the day, commercial banks are businesses.
But
and,
we were told
regulation.
they do. We were told they do.
No, that's what they do is they set there's regulation in everything, like how MTN and Tigo and Airtel have
they don't set products.
But they do not set products.
Yeah.
He's coming exactly. So you see, some banks have trade financing, short-term financing for smaller businesses that need liquidity in the short term. Then other banks are development banks, like we have.
And banks are
BRD.
of different capacities when it comes on lending.
And as we talk of those capacities, I would like you, Sam, to again tell us what are those other things that you feel entrepreneurs do that denies them this credit or this financing, but makes them think that it is the fault of the bank. What are those mistakes? What are they?
Yeah, as I said earlier, the things that make entrepreneurs not getting the facilities. One, they don't come up with the real purpose of what is this money going to.
No, I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
I'll bring you in.
Yeah, you will comment on this.
Yes.
Someone will come up with the business plan and the purpose is very specific, but actually this is not the purpose. So if you go and do your due diligence, if banks do due diligence, they will find out this is not the real purpose. And definitely this will be, the facility will be denied. Another thing is the credit history. Most of the entrepreneurs, they have asked for some money in the different banks, and you can tell using the former credit reference bureau that this has been merit borrowing and is not credit worth. There are other things like manipulations in when they are doing their projects. They also manipulate their financials. You know, they don't like give the correct figures when it comes on the financials. I'm talking of those guys who have financials, those who can present the balance sheet.
The balance sheet.
Yeah.
Christine, I want to bring in Christine before we have a long list and then
if you ask for financials, they're like, you in Rwanda revenue, mnashaka kumfunga. You know, such a kind of situation. And this someone is dodging RRA, and RRA is the core factor when it comes on the development of the country. Do you mean banks can lend to someone?
We have 8 minutes. Christine, he speaks of ghost projects, which most entrepreneurs present. And they're not even sometimes realistic. And if the banks do due diligence and they find, actually, this is not the project. And you're quick to say, I disagree.
Yeah, I really disagree on that, because I think if I sit down and then I write my project, I'm not going to present it to the bank when it's only my idea. I'm going to meet Ephraim, who has some experience about it. Now, I'm talking about the majority of what would happen. Maybe the cases he was talking about would be selected cases that happened. But now I'm talking about majority, and I'm talking about experience from others. I sit down, I make my project, I bring it to Eugene, we work it out, and we think it is good to go, right? It's a new project. It's new on the market.
So you feel everything. It's not the fault of an entrepreneur when they present unrealistic projects.
And then, Eugene, like I said out of the camera, I think banks, like a bank has to appoint a certain person who advises. If you guys really make business out of us, business people, or you make profits out of us, I think there has to be someone, so-and-so, Eugene standing there, and he is approaching these people coming for loans. And he sits them down and advises them, tells them, I think your budget is really unrealistic. You get. And then you tell me...
Which we do?
I doubt it. I really doubt it.
Doubts. And of talking off camera and on camera, there seems to be a lot that we talked about off camera, right?
No, yes, I wanna actually, what I want to do is, I want to talk of the way forward since we have very little time.
Yes.
And I think personally, being on both sides, being somebody who has given money and being somebody who has gone to seek money from financial institutions, it's one truth of the matter. You rarely find an entrepreneur who gives you realistic. It's what makes entrepreneurs entrepreneurs. We are so optimistic about what we can achieve, and that's what sets us apart from everybody else. Because if we were realistic, we wouldn't even start the business.
Exactly.
And that's the reality of the situation. So these unrealistic estimates will always come. But I think when I see way forward is it's really going to be expensive for banks to incorporate this new infrastructure of putting in people in that team. What I think is you guys need to partner with people who can buff. Because I'll give you one example. In Rwanda, it's really hard to do market research. Because firstly, the data that exists in the market is in numbers. Or it's really raw data. No one qualitates the content. And then on the flip side, it's very expensive to go do it as a business. Find out about your customers in the northern province, western province. But then if that information can be gotten, first from the perspective of the business as well as from the bank side, they know that if this person did this particular business, they would actually make some money. Now, I think that it gets very expensive for both parties to do it, but they could always have somebody in between.
So this is a business opportunity.
Exactly, as a buffer in between there. And this is why we set up our company, because we have projects that come to us because we are slightly lower level, because we are slightly closer to the entrepreneur. We're not as institutionalized as a bank, as a commercial bank, or as a lender. What we do is we cannot really assess these projects. We can really go to
and that's the partnership you're calling for.
Yes.
Way forward as we go. We have only 3 minutes, and I'll start with Sam here. What quick takeaway notes would you give out there, both for entrepreneurs and for financing institutions?
Yeah. I think my advice is that on the side of entrepreneurs, especially those startup guys, let us focus on those startup guys. They need to start small and build a good relationship with the bank. They should be loyal and honest to the bank. Then I'm very sure they'll grow big. The sky is the limit.
So if the sky is the limit, do you still agree with his point that we will always have exaggerated figures because we think big?
Beyond
and
others.
And there you are saying start
that
small.
one I disagree with him, because if you start exaggerating or manipulating the figures.
Not manipulation. Like if I think I'm going to make 10 million in 1 week,
Yeah.
when realistically I'm only going to make 2 million.
And that's why I said they need to be realistic.
But that's
Banks
what I meant.
like being realistic when you are doing your project.
So we go take that.
Don't overestimate.
Overestimation to
because
someone
if
else.
you do overestimation,
this is what he's telling you. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam.
And another thing is, at this technology now we have, they need to avoid looking for the shortcuts. Yeah, they should understand banks when it comes on the process. I'm not saying banks should be conservative, bureaucratic, no. But entrepreneurs also should understand, because if we are doing due diligence in RRA, in RDB, they should understand, because we are working under the rules and regulations of BNI.
Yeah.
Thank you. Christine, your final words very briefly.
Yeah, my final words. I'd first like to thank him for the advice of not hearing what my friends went through, because I don't know what it took them to be denied the loan or whatever they were requesting from the bank. So I'd like to tell my fellow young ladies especially, please approach the banks and then make sure you have realistic, like Mr. Sam is telling us, realistic projects. Because I'm very sure there are very many young women out here in this country with healthy ideas, if that's what I would call them. Ideas that can make them survive and help other people. Because, if a woman is generating money, it's going to help everyone, not like a man that's out of experience. Yeah, so I'd also think banks should also renovate their working ways, and on a monthly basis they have to collect data from different people, especially their customers and people who are not their customers, to know what they think about them, and then find ways of satisfying the profits, like the way they make the profits.
Sam, you've just brought her to your side, because she was just saying she's now happy that you've mentioned some of those things you've mentioned, and she's no longer going to be listening to other people.
Yes, I'll approach the banks.
Yes.
Avoid listening to those people.
Avoid listening to those other people.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Christine. Thank you so much, Ephraim and Sam, for your insights on this very important conversation, which I believe still has to keep going out there. Thank you so much for your time. And there you have it. Debate 4 on 1 comes to an end on that particular note right here on the program. But of course, the conversation has to keep going out there. If you are not happy with some of the answers or some of the statements that were made right here in the program, kindly share your opinions or your views on how best you would have put them yourself. And of course, keep talking. Use the hashtag debate411. You can tweet me directly at Eugene Anangwe, or you can tweet at debate411. We'll be right back here again for yet another debating session on Debate 411. My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. Goodbye for now.
My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe.
Just in case you forgot.
Give you a Kinyarwanda name.
Eugene Anangwe, like it has the beat.
This is an EA production.